Comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. Well, thank you, fucking England. The tickets to my show in London went on sale yesterday after a long fucking delay, and a whole bunch of you bought some. It felt fucking good. No one fucking complained about the ticket prices like the fucking Irish, but I expected that from my ancient brethren, and I also respect it. But fucking England is showing the Boyles some love at the moment. It felt good yesterday, getting them on sale, people snapping them up, sending me photos of their tickets. Excited for me to get over there. I'm excited to get over there now. I'm psyched for fucking London, England, UK, whatever. I wish I had a little bit more time there. I would have done more places in England, but I just fucking don't have the time. But thank you, England. Don't stop buying them, though. Let's try and sell it out. That would be like a fucking dream. Just putting a sold out sign over my London show when last night I did a shitty fucking open mic in a foyer of a pub to 3 fucking drunk cunts and one old guy that I don't even know what fucking planet he was on. I don't want to be doing those gigs, but I got a fucking show to put on. England has definitely been the most receptive country so far. Even more than Australia. Maybe I can be like one of those fucking cunts that England discovers first and then becomes like big, like fucking Nick Cave. No one gives a fuck about Nick Cave in Australia. Steve Hughes, the fucking great Australian comedian, he can fucking sell out theaters all through fucking Europe, and he can barely get on at a fucking open mic in Australia. That's how fucked up the joint is. Even Jim Jeffries couldn't get on shit until about 4 or 5 years ago. Cunts in England loved him, and the States, obviously, but England first, way, way before he was accepted in Australia. Jim Jeffries literally had to sell out stadiums before Australia even fucking batted an eyelid. Same with the Crocodile Hunter. That's gone fucking left field, but the Crocodile Hunter, no one knew who the fucking Crocodile Hunter was in Australia until he was on like 60 Minutes or some shit, and they're like, Australia's wild fucking man or whatever. Australia's like, who's this fucking retard? Seriously, that was the first time we heard about the Crocodile Hunter, was on 60 Minutes, and collectively Australia went, who is this fucking retard? We've already got LB Mangles and fucking Russell Coit. LB Mangles is a fucking reference. Only about 6 people in Australia would still get that reference. What I'm saying is Australia doesn't know what the fuck is going on. Australia won't know what it's got till it's gone, till I'm in the fucking UK or the US. Then what? There will be a Boyle-sized hole in Australia. England know what's going on. Jimi Hendrix as well. Jimi Hendrix wasn't famous. No one in the States gave a fuck about Jimi Hendrix until he went to fucking England, and Eric Clapton took like fucking 8 minutes away from beating the shit out of his wife to watch Jimmy play and was like, that cunt's great. And then he blew up. Am I comparing myself to Jimi Hendrix? Yes. I wouldn't say I'm as good at guitar as Jimi Hendrix. No, not publicly anyway, or anywhere near a guitar. I would say it very, very far away from a guitar. But in everything else, yes. Me and Jimmy are the same. Transcendent geniuses. I think it was 12 tickets I sold yesterday. That's how dire things have been. No, I don't know how many I sold, but it felt like a few, and I appreciate it. If you got fucking friends and family you can drag along, that would be much appreciated. Anyway, that's enough of that. Also, thank you to the people who bought tickets in Ireland as well. There has been a few of you. Tell your friends and family as well, because that's actually the one that's costing me money. Don't make me subsidize the Irish show with the money from the English show. That's not how you run a republic. Anyway, it is back this week. Boyle breaks history. It's been a few weeks off. It hasn't really been. I explained inflation, I think, one day. Then I did something else the next week. I don't know. But this week's Boyle breaks history is on the Bretton Woods Conference. You probably know nothing about it, and neither did I until about 3 days ago. But it's probably one of the most significant things that has happened in the last century. All right, I don't even know where to start. So the Bretton Woods Conference, it was held in 1944, just before the end of World War II. And there was like 44 countries there. If you're listening to this podcast, one of your countries was in attendance. Trust me. So the conference, it was held over 2 weeks, and the conference was held to discuss a new financial system, a new monetary system. Up until the First World War, 1914, the whole fucking world was on the gold standard. You'd have your shitty little bits of paper, and they would say fucking one bit of gold or something, and you could go to the bank or something and fucking get some earrings or whatever. But your paper was redeemable for gold up until 1914. And then when fucking World War I kicked off, they suspended the gold standard so they could fight the war, inflate the fuck out of the money so they could continue fighting the pointless war, which was World War I. And once World War I was over, they tried to go back onto the gold standard, but the money had been fucking inflated like fuck. And obviously there wasn't enough reserves of gold left in the vaults to honor everyone's paper money. So let's say before World War I, there was $1 billion of gold and there was 1 billion fucking notes. So if everyone took their notes to the bank, everyone would get a little bit of fucking gold. There'd be no reserves and there'd be no cash. Everyone would be equal. World War I happened. They suspended the gold standard, printed a shitload of fucking notes. So now there was like $1 billion of gold in the reserves and like fucking $10 billion of notes. So if everyone went to the bank and said, give me my fucking earrings, cunt, they'd be like, hold on, we're closed. We're closed for the next 10 years. So that's the gold standard. Governments never really went back to the gold standard after World War I. In fact, there was the Great Depression not long after World War I. So they started fucking printing money to get their way out of that, the New Deal and all that sort of shit. And then, I didn't know this, fucking Franklin D. Roosevelt, the D. Roos, in 1933, he fucking seized all the gold off the American citizens. Well, he didn't seize it, he forced them to sell it to the government at low prices, lower than market rate, and then he made it illegal for citizens to own gold up until like the 70s or some shit like that. And after he had confiscated all the gold off the American citizens, he jacked the price of gold up. So they just got fucked in every single way. So at that point in 1933, the illusion of the gold standard didn't even really exist. The citizens could not go and trade in their fucking notes for gold anymore. The citizens can get fucked. We're taking your gold, we're jacking the price. You're now playing with monopoly money. But the nations were still on the gold standard between each other. Trade between each other was still on the gold standard. So the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944. This was a conference between the Allied nations to discuss what we're going to do with this silly old gold standard. The gold standard was becoming too much of a hindrance. They wanted to print more money, but they didn't and couldn't increase their gold stocks. So they're like, what are we going to do? So representatives from 44 countries were there for like 2 weeks, and America came up with an idea. They're like, hey, instead of holding gold in reserve, why don't you hold the US dollar in reserve? So instead of having vaults full of gold, just have heaps and heaps of US dollars. Give us all the gold. This is no shit. This is no fucking shit. This is how the fucking American dollar became the reserve currency of the world. Yeah, so the Americans are like, fucking the US dollar is as good as gold. It's as good as gold. We promise you. It's better than gold. So why don't you, all you countries, give us all your gold and we'll give you dollars, and whenever you want, fucking France, Germany, Japan, Australia, whenever you want, just fucking bring the dollars and we'll give you your gold back. And and it was $35 an ounce. That's what they traded for. And this system is fucking brilliant. if America don't just fucking print money. So for some fucking sick reason, all these countries agreed to hold the US dollar in reserve instead of gold on the promise that the US won't print money. So then, it's so fucking nuts. So then, like, I don't know, fucking 10, 15 years later, America is just printing the fuck out of money. There was like the Vietnam War, there was like fucking the space race, there was like the welfare system was getting fucking cranked up. They were just printing the fuck out of money. And the other countries were starting to catch on. So the value of the dollar had been pegged at fucking $35 an ounce. But because the US were printing the fuck out of the money, really it was about fucking 120 for an ounce of gold. So I think it was like in the late 60s. The other countries are like, hold on, I don't know if having the US dollar as the reserve currency is such a good idea when the US are just fucking printing the shit out of it. So France is like, hey, we want our gold back. I'm going to send a warship over. I'm going to give you your dollars back. Now, can I get my fucking gold back? So France did it. Then Germany did it. And then the US were like, fucking, that's enough of that shit. And in 1971, I think it was, or 73, one of those two. Who gives a shit? I think it was 71. Richard Nixon goes, hey. He goes on national TV and he goes, hey, we're suspending the gold standard completely now. Temporarily, he said. Temporarily suspending the gold standard. The US dollar will no longer be redeemable for gold at all by any country. So literally now, all you've got is paper money and it can be printed at will because you don't have anything in reserve. The reserve is the US dollar. So the currency and the reserve is the US dollar. So just print more. And that, my friends, is why we are fucked. So yeah, the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944 was when the US dollar became the reserve currency of the world. They also created the IMF and the World Bank, two fucking corrupt institutions at Bretton Woods as well. And then 1971 or 73, let's just call it 72. Let's split the difference and call it 1972. 1972, Richard Nixon goes, no more gold. It's just paper now. And that is it. That's all you need to know about that. If you're feeling uncomfortable now, you should. And that's probably why you've felt uncomfortable your whole life. Because the whole foundation of this entire society is built on nothing. Anyway, that's Boyle Breaks History for tonight. If you're enjoying the podcast, give it a share around, and I'll see you the fuck later.